morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, Out of Voice Radio. So today, we need to be taking a look at the very first Wooloo card that we've ever had in the Pokemon trading card game. It is coming out as a promo card over in Japan, and it is being given out at Starter Deck V tournaments. So we've talked about these V Starter Decks which are coming out. Starting next Friday, there are going to be tournaments. I believe they're essentially kind of like theme deck tournaments. And you get yourself a promo Wooloo. And we've not seen a Wooloo before, so this seems moderately exciting. Now, minor spoiler for the game here, and it's going to have to keep happening, right? As the cards are revealed, we're going to have to talk about the Pokemon, and obviously if you've not played through Sword and Shield yet, as these cards come out, there will be minor spoilers. I will do the best I can, but for instance, I've got to tell you that Wooloo is an evolving basic. I've got to tell you that Wooloo has a single evolution, and that when Wooloo hits level 24, according to the lovely Joe over at Cerebi.net, it evolves into Doughball. So we are talking about a Pokemon that has a single evolution, so we're not expecting a huge amount from Wooloo. We're expecting an evolving basic. We're hoping for decent options in terms of trainer cards we can use with it. We're hoping for an attack or two that might be moderately useful, but we're also well aware that there is going to be a Doughball card coming out, and that Doughball is likely to be significantly more exciting. Although, interestingly enough, Doughball does not get a secondary typing here, so we are literally talking colourless Pokemon. And it will always be a colourless Pokemon. That does mean that when we evolve up into Doughball, we are going to have triple acceleration energy. Yay! But we're going to have to wait till Doughball comes out before we know what it does exactly. So if we focus on Wooloo for a moment then, we got 60 HP, and we like 60 HP. 60 HP is good. 60 HP means that we can get a Professor Round's lecture, which will let you search for free Pokemon with 60 HP or less, and put them straight onto your bench. That is going to be a huge advantage. The other option we've got at the moment is Professor Oak's setting, but that lets you get free Pokemon with different types. And it's actually kind of upsetting at the moment, because one of the things we do to cheat setting a little bit is Ditto. We use Ditto Prism Star as a colourless Pokemon, so we can't search for 2 water or 2 fighting, but we can search for a water and a Ditto that will evolve the same way, a fighting and a Ditto that will evolve in the same way, so it is mildly upsetting that this is going to ruin that just a little bit. Now, being a colourless Pokemon does mean that you are weak to fighting, which means that there are some Pokemon out there you need to be really worried about. But honestly, even though Pikachu and Zekrom is everywhere at the moment, and is one of the very best decks in the format, we're still not seeing a huge amount of fighting stuff around at the moment, so, I don't know. Maybe we'll be alright with it. No resistance here, and resistance is something I'm really tracking. It looks like resistance is being shaken up in Sword and Shield, so that's something we need to watch moving forward. And a retreat cost of 1 means that you've got either U-turn board or escape board, either of which will give you free retreat. U-turn board will go to your hand if it is discarded from play. Escape board will let you retreat when you are either asleep or paralysed. Cool. But what does it do? Well, really the best thing, in our translation here comes the lovely Antoine Boulet. Let's not forget that. Antoine is lovely. But it is the first attack here with which we are primarily concerned. This is the one that could be useful. And what it does is it lets you flip a coin. And if you flip yourself a heads, you prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks during your opponent's next turn. Now, the lovely Antoine Boulet did not say effects of attacks including damage, he just said damage. So I think at this stage it is fair to assume that it just prevents damage. So your opponent can try and burn you and poison you and whittle you down in that way. Although remember, you can always evolve out of special conditions. But it doesn't let your opponent hit you next turn, means you're safe from being damaged next turn. That alone is pretty gosh darn good. And it's about buying time. It really is as simple as that. It is about making sure that you've got time to get evolved up, do what you want to do, etc. It's a nice turn 1 attack. Maybe you're playing something like Volcanion that lets you accelerate energy. Probably not in a Wooloo Doughball deck, it's more in a fire deck, but you never know, we don't know what Doughball's going to do. But interesting, just as a, you know what, I can use this to buy myself a little bit of time to frustrate my opponent. It's just a little bit of a shame we don't have stuff like Victini at the moment. Because there was a little while ago, right, what we had electric decks. And there was a 30 HP Dynamo and a 40 HP Dynamo. And the 30 HP Dynamo had free retreat, but it had 30 HP, and this was in a format, right, where we did have Landorus, which could do 30 damage to the bench, so generally speaking, we played the 40 HP Dynamo. But then a group of really good players went, well, hang on a second, rather than just playing it for the extra 10 HP, why don't we play it for Thunderwave, which does 10 damage, and you flip a coin, and if heads, the defending Pokemon is now paralyzed. Cool. And they played it with the old Victini, whose ability was exactly the same as the new Victini, incidentally. And what they would do was they would just buy time. They had a 75% chance of getting paralysis, so a 75% chance of essentially not being hurt next turn, and they would use that to buy themselves a few turns, set up a bunch of electric, because electric does, or did, what Malamar does, whereby you accelerate one lightning energy from your discard to one of your Pokemon on the bench. And it was beautiful. And it took a few turns to set up. So what you do is you use Dynamo with Victini, buy yourself a couple of turns, set yourself up, and then smash. It was a really good way of doing it. And your opponent could always switch out of the paralysis, etc., but unless they could, you could buy yourself some time. Well, that's essentially what we do here. That's the goal. The thing is, Wooloo's slightly different from Dynamo in that it's Wooloo that gets a protection, which means rather than your opponent switching, which is easy, especially with a skateboard, what we've got is your opponent can gust around. The thing is, gusting isn't like it used to be. Now, in Fire decks, they've got 9 tails. Fire decks are fine. Outside of that, we were all playing Custom Catcher. Play 2 at the same time, you get to gust a Pokemon from the bench. Whereas now that Cosmic Eclipse is out, a lot of the best decks are switching to Great Catcher, which is only 1 card. You don't have to play 2 at the same time, but you do have to discard 2 cards from your hand, and you can only gust an EX or GX. Now, what's really interesting about Great Catcher is it doesn't gust Pokemon V, so that's going to be very, very interesting moving forward. It's one of the cards that give Pokemon V a huge advantage over Pokemon GX. But the point is that if you don't have any EX or GX on your bench, which a lot of the time going forward in Sword and Shield you probably won't, especially in a Wooloo deck where you're going to be playing Doughball. Although we don't know if V are going to be Basic or Evolution. At the moment we've only seen Basic. If V are Evolution, maybe we'll see some Pokemon V. Anyway, so it's unlikely that you're going to be gusted is my point. And your opponent has to gust because it's Wooloo that gets a protection. So it's a shame that we've lost Victini, so you're still at a 50% chance rather than a 75% chance. But this could potentially buy yourself a few turns, especially if we get a Victini-like effect in the future. So it could be kind of useful. Personally, I want to see what the Doughball does. Doughball is a colorless Pokemon. It's a very standard early game Pokemon. It's got lots of moves that can kind of build it up, like Cotton Guard, which builds up its defense stat. And it's got things like Double Kick and Headbutt and Takedown and just damaging attacks. I don't think it's going to end up being the most interesting of Pokemon, but that doesn't mean I don't want to see it. I mean, there's not really any point giving Wooloo a score. It's a promo that led to a fun little discussion about trying to buy yourself some turns, but Wooloo is going to depend on the Doughball. I wanted to show you the Wooloo. I was excited about the Wooloo, and it got me thinking about Dynamo and whether we could repeat that effect. I just wanted to show you the Wooloo. Seriously, right? Is there anyone out there that doesn't like Wooloo? I don't think there is. I just want to see the Doughball now. Although, I'm a little bit worried, because the V-decks are out in a week. And Sword and Shield the set is out in 2 weeks. And we have seen a few cards from the V-decks and nothing from the sets proper. Surely they've got to start showing us some cards soon. Make sure you're subscribed. I'll show you all the cards when we get them. For now, I want to know what you think about Wooloo. I want your predictions for what Doughball is going to do. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.